Hi, I'm Sarah, and this is Stacy, and we're here to do the second episode of what we choose to call the Antidote. And we call it the Antidote because a lot of people ask serious questions about walking a spiritual path. They have a lot of preconceived notions, and we want to create an antidote to there being just one way to look at things. We decided today to take a question from one of the people who viewed our first episode and begin with that question.
And the question is it okay if you don't have a destination or not to know your destination on a spiritual journey?
So to be knowing you're on a spiritual path, but not exactly knowing where it's headed. And I would say that's probably the situation for most people who are really honest.
I think so, because I think once you find yourself on a spiritual path, it naturally evolves as you evolve. It can evolve.
And it also undoes the way that you've started living. And it's like a decomposing of an old path to open a new way. So I think knowing where you're headed isn't necessary at all. But knowing what your next step is pretty important.
Agreed. I think sometimes on a spiritual path, or if we set out to do something, we think that there has to be some long goal, some outcome. And I think that people can tend to get ahead of themselves.
I mean, I'm fine if the goal when someone comes to me and asks for help to progress in their lives, I'm totally fine if their goal right in present time is to create peace in their life, inner peace and peace between them and the important relationships, the people in their lives, the people they live with, the people they answer to in work, and really anybody that they have a close connection with. Because walking a spiritual path isn't something we're doing off in isolation, not in this lifetime.
We have to bring it in and make it real and material in the world that we're living in. And I also want to say, sort of going back to how a spiritual path can evolve over time, is remember when you sort of set out on a path, the you are going to change over time on that path. So what might have been important to you at one stage might be different as you progress and go along to a different stage. And I think Sarah brings up a hugely important point about taking just the next step on the path. Nice to have a view towards a goal of having more peace, of being able to interact in a more peaceful and constructive way with others.
The problem when people ask a question like that, which is it okay that I don't know exactly where I'm headed? The other side of that is like a spiritual path is about I know where I'm headed. I think that's really dangerous. I think that if you've decided that you want to expand your awareness and change, you shouldn't have a pretty set idea of what you're going to change into, or you're just going to be really operating in a materialistic way. Like, I will know I've grown spiritually if I can manifest this much money, this kind of partner, this kind of change.
Yes.
The fact is to decide to be of service, to be of use. That's pretty much the only decision that's worth making that will propel a person quickly on a path. If it's done just to know what you know or to know where you're going, it's very egocentric. So I think that works against the concept. So in answer to our question that was given to us, which is it okay not to know where you're headed? Yes, but it's not okay not to gain clarity on your intentions for walking in the direction you're going. You don't have a clear sense of why you're doing what you're doing in your marriage, in your relationship, in your world of work. If you don't have a sense of what you're doing and why you're doing it here and now, you're not going to go in a direction that's beneficial to your spiritual development. So a lot of times people will ask me, how do I find out more about what I should be doing in my marriage, in my work life?
Mhm.
Well, in my marriage, let's say, in my relationship, I don't really know how to be on my spiritual path and be married to this person. Well, if you're already married to this person, the answer is pretty straightforward, which is cultivate a higher and higher level of unselfish willingness. And it's karmic that you got together. Now, if a person is about to marry, I think there are a lot of questions that need to be answered about what they want in their lives spiritually and whether that person is enough aligned with them for it to be an exciting experience to grow. Not are we going to be fine because we're exactly alike, we have the same political views, we have the same religion, we have the same kind of family background. Those things are good, but what really counts is, are we going to be able to take the next steps in our own development together? Can it be helpful to be together? If you're already married, the story's different. It's like find out what's going wrong, figure out what you're not willing to do,
Mhm.
and get busy.
But I also find that, let's say people are young and they get married, and of course people change over time, right? So it could be that one of the partners um, embarks on a spiritual journey, and then sometimes it creates an expectation that the other partner would come along with them. At that point, there may be some mismatch, which may go back to your first example of, if you're in the marriage, find a way to grow together.
Or understand that the growth you're going to have in this marriage is that you're very different and you're not going to agree on all of the esoteric things, but on practical matters. Learn to come to agreements that are really peaceful for both. And I know couples who come to me for therapy and they appear to be living on different planets in terms of spiritual. I'm meditating all these hours a day, and my wife just works in an office and could care less about, you know, exploring that level of consciousness.
Right.
How do you bring love to a person when they're very different? It's so easy to do it when you're exactly focused in the same direction.
Yes.
You're walking the same aligned journey, like you're both very Christian or you're both very much on a meditation path. It's very easy when you're the same, but not every relationship is meant to be that way.